Well, hello, once more here at Gettysburg on the second day, of course, July 2nd, 2020, covering more of the action that happened here on July 2nd, 1863. Right now, I'm covering the nasty surprise that Longstreet would receive almost on this spot right here on that day. Well, Longstreet was ordered to go into the assault by Robert E. Lee, had given orders to begin marching towards the south end of the battlefield where we are pretty much today. Had received that order about 11:30. Longstreet had argued that he wanted Pickett's division with him too, but Lee had denied that request. Longstreet then argued to allow the brigade of Evander Law to catch up and form the rest of Hood's division. Okay, Lee agreed to that. Law's brigade arrived at 1 p.m. to Gettysburg on the road from Chambersburg, and they would start their march down Harris Ridge, just to the west of Seminary Ridge. Well, their actions were discovered by a Union Signal Corps operation on Little Round Top, there in the distance, that open-faced hill over there. And so Longstreet ordered a countermarch. Well, this burned more precious time. It was awful for him. He was stressed. People say he was despondent. He didn't want to make this attack. And so he was not in the best of moods. And more to the point, as you can see, daylight is burning. Night fighting really doesn't exist, but it kind of does here at Gettysburg, and we'll talk about that later. But usually doesn't exist in the Civil War. So he has precious few hours to work with. And so after his countermarch, he's supposed to be in concealment. Those were his orders, to be hidden so he could come out here, this wood line, but Warfield Ridge, which I'm standing on right now, the Warfield farm right there, and then cross the Millerstown Crossroads just in front of us. I got out of focus, sorry. And then outflank the Union position on Cemetery Hill and Cemetery Ridge. All right, so that was the plan. The plan was also predicated on information that Lee had received in the morning, saying that there were no Union troops at all in this area whatsoever. So this should be a pretty easy operation. Well, Longstreet has already ordered his countermarch. He's already spent hours getting down to this spot. It's 3 o'clock by the time he arrives, and his lead division comes out of that wood line over there, near that fence. His lead division commander, Lafayette McLaws, was informed before he went into position by Longstreet that there is nothing in your front. You will be entirely on the flank of the enemy. The problem, as covered in the previous video, they weren't completely devoid of the enemy over there. The 3rd Corps was now occupying those trees there in the distance, and also occupying that barn and that house, and stretching down the Emmitsburg Road. Nearly 10,000 Union soldiers were right in front of them, right where Lafayette McLaws was supposed to advance. McLaws would recount later, and a good look at the situation and the view presented astonished me, as the enemy was massed in my front and extended to my right and left as far as I could see. Okay, right in front of you there. Thus was presented a state of affairs which was certainly not contemplated when the original plan or order of battle was given. One of McLaws' brigade commanders, Joseph Kershaw, would write in his official report, "I found him to be in superior force in the orchard," meaning the Union soldiers, "supported by artillery, with a main line of battle entrenched in the rear and extending to and upon the Rocky Mountain to his left, far beyond the point at which his flank had supposed to rest." What he's talking about is Little Round Top over there. Kershaw was a little bit incorrect in that statement. Union troops were not on Little Round Top at that point, but from his perspective, it kind of looked that way. "To carry out my instructions," Kershaw continues in his official records report, "would have been, if successful in driving him from the orchard, to present my own right and rear to a large portion of his line of battle." Meaning, If he had crossed the road as originally instructed, he would now, his flank, his side, would be presented to the Union forces right there in the peach orchard and along the wheat field road. This is an unexpected shock. This is something Longstreet was not anticipating. And McLaws sends back word that this has happened. Longstreet comes up and goes, and has a few choice words. This is not supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be here, the Union forces. So Longstreet now has to devise a new attack plan. And that will also burn more precious daylight. Now, McLaws would not be the lead of the attack. The new plan was that McLaws would be here. Kind of in boxing terms, he would form a left jab. Meanwhile, Longstreet would extend the line down that way. Hood's division. And now Hood's division would lead the attack and form, in boxing terms, a right hook. So, Hood would form a right hook and McLaws a left jab. Right there at the peach orchard. So, that's the new attack plan. But that will take time to implement. In the meantime, however, standing right where I am, essentially in this field in front of me right here, would be E.P. Alexander and his artillery battalion. Now, he would stretch his guns all the way down, basically almost to that far tree line down there, and they would start to bombard the peach orchard and Sickles' position. That's the bombardment that I spoke of when Meade spurred off and went to go find help. That's what happened. He opened up right about at this time, about 3 o'clock. He opened up on the peach orchard position. What would happen next would be, in terms of Alexander, he would call probably the hottest artillery engagement in his career in the Civil War. It would feature at one point Confederate artillery using canister, usually an ammunition reserved for infantry that are attacking artillery. They would use canister on opposing artillery batteries at one point. They would get so close. It was a hot engagement and would last for about 50 minutes. So that's this video right now. Thank you for watching. I'm going to continue making these videos and hopefully you'll continue watching them. And I thank you for your attention and talk to you later.